Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us. My name is Ryan Kastner. I'm an account executive with Aspire Technology Partners. We're excited to deliver this webinar today in conjunction with our friends and partners at Cisco Meraki. And we got together with Cisco Meraki a little bit ago, and we're talking about some of the challenges that a lot of our customers and prospective customers had or have that has been solved by some of the solutions that ourselves and Cisco Meraki have been able to provide. So, title today is Empowering K-12 IT Teams Through Simplified and Secured Environments. We have a host of different school districts with us today throughout the states of New Jersey and New York. So welcome and thanks again for joining. We're going to run through the agenda here in a little bit. First, I'm going to talk a little bit about us here at Aspire, and then at the end, we'll have a Q&A session, time permitting. If there isn't time for a Q&A, we will do a follow-up, and we'll send you any questions that come in with our answers. So feel free to put any questions in the chat box throughout today's presentation. So a little bit about us here at Aspire. We are an advanced technology solution and services provider. And we partner with our customers and utilize our industry experts to design, implement, and deliver cross-architecture IT solutions. A little bit about us and what we consider our advantages. So we are based in region. I mentioned that today we have customers and prospective customers from the states of New Jersey and New York. We're headquartered right in New Jersey, central North Jersey, so access to both states. And we are privately owned. So we intend to remain that way. We're beholden to our customers and not any shareholders. And we are US headquarters and based. We're flexible. We're big enough to support large clients and small enough to tailor strategic solutions to company or school district goals. So we have a lot of different school districts that are customers of ours, some that are on the smaller end and some that are on the very large end, and a good mix here today. We have a great mix of thought leadership here at Aspire. So we have the most CCIE certified engineers in the region. And we have a NOC and SOC that is 100% staffed with Aspire employees 24/7, 365 right in our headquarters in Eatontown, New Jersey. To give you an idea of where our practice areas and our core strengths lie, you'll see on the screen here we have enterprise networking, collaboration, cybersecurity, data center and cloud, mobility and wireless, and a growing division of Internet of Things, all of which where we partner with Cisco and Meraki, and you'll learn a little bit more about today. We also provide managed services, and we can do so in the areas I just mentioned. We have a robust customer success department to ensure that your staff and colleagues adopt and are trained on all the solutions that are provided. We have a project management team that is assigned to any professional services. And we have an extensive contingent of solution architects and service delivery engineers at your disposal anytime. So, of course, we'd love to talk to you more about us here at Aspire, but hopefully that quick overview gave you an idea of who's presenting to you here today. And as mentioned in a moment, I'll introduce Cisco and Meraki as well. So a little bit about our agenda. So obviously being K-12 educational districts, funding is always important. So going to do a quick funding overview. There's two programs that are coming up that we'd like to touch on and tease another webinar that we'll be doing for you. And then we're going to dive into the K-12 IT challenges, an overview of Meraki's cloud-based solutions and how they can solve those challenges, and specifically the simplicity and the solutions from Meraki for administrators like yourselves, secure next generation Wi-Fi, keeping students safe and secure with advanced video analytics through Meraki, and sensors for district-wide safety and monitoring. So again, I'm Ryan Kastner. I'm an account executive focused here in New Jersey for Aspire. Also on the line, we have Chris Williams, Roberto Toscano, and Dan Harris, also account executives throughout New Jersey and New York for Aspire. We also have the solutions architect, Keith Heckel, who's going to be doing the demonstration and a bulk of the presentation today. And our friends at Cisco Meraki, we have Norma Conda, Hayden Hilana, and Allison Pinella here joining us today. So last piece for me, I mentioned talking about some upcoming funding pieces that'll be available to most, if not all, of the folks on today's call. Upcoming is a school violence prevention program. So the United States Department of Justice awarded over $72 million for this program in 2022, with a maximum of $500,000 per school district. We expect it to mirror that or close to that in 2023. So if you're not familiar with this program, the purpose is to improve security at schools and on school grounds through evidence-based school safety programs. So you can utilize this grant and apply for this funding for the installation of technology for expedited notification during an emergency, coordination with law enforcement, placement of deterrent measures, and significant improvement in security. So one example would be something we're actually talking about today through Meraki would be the cameras. In 2021 and 2022, 53 and 58% of applicants respectively received an award with an average award of over $320,000. So we're talking about significant funds here and an opportunity at over 50% to receive that funding. We're going to be hosting a webinar on this with Cisco in April, so stay tuned for that. And the funding will actually open for applications in April for the June submission date. There also will be the regular operating districts or ROD grant available to those of you who are joining us from New Jersey, and we'll have more information for you on that. But that will include an opportunity for funding for technology infrastructure upgrades. With that, I'm going to kick it to my friends at Cisco Meraki to take it from here.
Hi everyone, how are we doing today? My name is Hayden, and I am the K-12 rep for Meraki. I'm the Meraki specialist for Northern New Jersey specifically. I just want to do a shameful little plug. We love partnering with Aspire because their level of service, communication, and not to mention the best technical resources in the game. So I'm going to touch on key challenges for IT teams today, specifically in the K-12 world. So there are exponentially more devices than there were, just 5 years ago. So with that comes more network traffic that the IT team has to manage. Increased threats to the network. It is important to keep individual users safe, but also the district as a whole safe on the network front. So just over the last 2+ years, we have seen more and more districts unfortunately get hit with cyber attacks, and we try to help our customers get ahead of that. So doing more with finite resources, doing more with less. So IT teams are having to carry more responsibilities and having to wear more hats than ever before. Existing budgets need to stretch a little bit further. And then easier network management with increased visibility is crucial in today's world to decrease the weight on the IT team's shoulders.
Great. Thank you very much, Hayden. And we'll move on now to Keith Heckel to do a Meraki overview.
Yeah, thanks everyone. Appreciate everyone's time hopping on. Just starting out, this is going to be basically a Meraki short, high-level overview of the dashboard. I'm going to go over basically the dashboard management, the scalability of the dashboard, so how you can scale this out to not just one building, but multiple buildings, whether that be schools or administration buildings and whatnot. Overall, physical safety and physical security. So we want to look at for the safety of your staff and students while they're in school and out of school, and the security aspect. What kind of analytics and what kind of data can you grab from both the cameras and the sensors while they're online? And I'm just going to grab Control Ryan so I can share. So as you may know, I'm just going to assume everyone's not that familiar with dashboard. This is basically what everything is managed by. Cisco's Meraki dashboard. It's all in the cloud. The only data that goes to here is management data, so it's only going to be configuration traffic, and it's very minimal. Everything within Meraki is based on your organization. So I'm using Cisco Meraki's headquarters just for the demo now, but this could be broken out into a specific school district, and then within the school district, you can have sub-networks or networks that are tied to that org. You can claim and license devices into those networks. Those licenses are 1, 3, 5, 7, and 10 years, and they cover both hardware maintenance, the licensing of the device for that amount of time, and obviously TAC and Cisco support as well. So you get all of that kind of bundled into one SKU. So we see here, I'm in the actual Meraki organization, and then you can see the different sub-networks within here. I just happen to be in the San Francisco one. There's a network-wide tab right here. When you go here, it's going to give you this nice little overview. So obviously, Meraki is a very large company, so they're going to have organizations or networks throughout the globe. but you get a nice little graphical representation of where your networks are and how many devices are actually in there. If you were to scroll down and drill in, you'll be able to actually see how many devices are at each location. And if I just slowly bring this over to closer to San Francisco here, we get a nice little graphical representation that breaks it out between San Jose and actually San Francisco. Within here, you also get another cool tab where they have a topology. So this is actually going to take all of your devices and dynamically come up with basically a Visio chart for you. So it's going to lay out how your core switch is connected to, what your access layer switches are connected to, all the access points and whatnot connected off of that. So you'll be able to see all of that in this nice graphical representation. From here too, you'll actually be able to see alerting and to see how many devices are up and down. So you can see here that this device is yellow. So if we hover over this, we'll be able to see, okay, our campus MDF core, there happens to be a power supply offline. So you get all of this granular control just from this topology in itself. The other good thing about the dashboard, it keeps it nice and simple, so you can get to pretty much everywhere and anywhere from any tab. So if I were to click here and then I wanted to drill down into this switch to take a deeper look into why that power supply is offline or what actually is going on with it, it'll then take me to this page and I can actually see the power supply is offline. I can see the uplinks, I can see the connections, I can see the client usage, I can see that the actual device is online and it didn't actually fully go offline and things of that nature. Within the network-wide tab, you also have your event log. This is going to be the event log as a whole for the dashboard. You can filter this out by your switching, your security appliances, your cameras, your access points and sensors. I'll touch more onto those in a little bit, but you'll be able to search for any particular event, any particular client. So if you have the client MAC address, I'll show how to grab all that in a little bit too, but if you had that readily available, you can actually type that in and start grabbing events based on pretty much anything and everything through this. As far as users and group policies, you're able to actually assign different group policies and administration users. So as a consultant, if we were to come into your network, you would be able to grant us temporary access. We would be able to have full dashboard access to get the network up and running, configured, and then we can pass it on to you. For our NOC and SOC, you can give us full dashboard access as well, and then we can continue to manage it down the road. You can also do that for different techs in your school. Based on my experience, there's going to be multiple different techs. They might have assigned different schools. One might be a high school, one might be a middle school, the other might be assigned to the elementary schools and whatnot. You can give them different access privileges so that maybe the elementary school tech doesn't need to see the high school for whatever reason. You can differentiate the access from there. Down to security. So I forgot to mention here, this is what we call Meraki's full stack. So the full stack is going to include the security appliances, the Meraki MX appliances, the switching, wireless access points, your Meraki cameras, and your Meraki sensors. So the full stack is going to be pretty much everything that Meraki has to offer, and it's all managed under this one dashboard, which is super cool. Obviously, with having multiple different devices in your network, you're going to have to log into a different firewall portal. You're going to have to console in or use a GUI to configure your switching and whatnot. And for your access points, you might have to log into a wireless LAN controller in order to actually configure them and make sure everything's working properly. You don't have to do that with Meraki. It's all done through the one cloud dashboard. I always like to make the joke that you could be on a beach in the Bahamas, and if someone calls you up for whatever reason, you decide to answer your phone while you're on vacation, saying your switch is down, you can actually look on the switch, configure the port through your phone, and then push the config out, and you're good. You can also take a look as to why it's down and whatnot from there too. But obviously, we don't like to work on vacation, but you have that availability too if you should. To get into the security appliance, just again, very high level, it's going to be a layer 3 to layer 7 security appliance, so you're going to be able to get everything. It integrates well with Umbrella and Cisco ICE as well, just to give you that more added security benefits. All these tabs are going to look pretty similar, right? It's going to give you a nice graphical representation of the actual appliance, what ports are connected, if they're up or down or not, and then it's going to give you a nice little connectivity chart here. So we can see here that everything is connected, and then you see this little red spot right here. If you hover over the red spot, it'll tell you that you had no connectivity from 140 to 143. So from there, you can kind of drill down as to like what actually happened in that. Did we lose power? Did the service provider go down and whatnot? From here, you can also click on uplink, so you can get into your uplink information. It gives you a nice representation of that, whether it be your internal interfaces or your external IP addressing interfacing. These devices also hand out DHCP, albeit I like to keep these on the lower end of the scoping as far as if you're going to handle it as a DHCP server, but you'll be able to see all your DHCP leases. You can search for everything if you knew the IP address of a student. So for instance, if something happened or you need to look for a node on your network that's having an issue, you can search for the IP address, you can search for the VLAN or the MAC address, and it'll pull it up here for you. If we get into the switching, it'll take us to an overview of all of the switches within your network. So it gives you a nice little overview. And you'll be able to see how many switches are offline, how many switches are alerting. So again, going back to the topology, you're able to see if the switch is online, alerting, or whatnot from there. You're also able to see it from here, which is pretty cool. We can also see how many switches are online and how many have been dormant. So how many switches have not been turned on or have not been working in the network. From here, you're able to actually search for the name. The search bar is probably the most advanced feature and the most powerful feature in the dashboard itself. If you had to search for a switch in a particular IDF in a school, you're able to type in the IDF number if you have it named appropriately, and you can search from there. Like let's say I want to look for core 1, it'll only bring up core 1. If I wanted to search for a particular IP address and I didn't know the name of it, I can search for the IP address, and again, it'll just bring up that switch. You're able to see the current connected clients, the clients with usage, if routing is enabled or not on it, the MAC address. In Meraki, the serial number is the king. That's basically how everything is licensed. It's licensed based off of serial numbers and whatnot. So you're able to see all of that from here. We can also add more if we wanted to. So we can add tags. You can basically have your core switch tag. You can have an IDF switch tag or your MDF switch tags if you wanted to do those as well. You can add a stack, so if you wanted to see what switches are stacked or not. You can see the number of active ports. So I know this goes into a lot of like E-rate funding or government funding. You want to see how many ports are actually being used or how many are active. You can kind of see all of that right there. You can see the alerts, the status, and this will all throw more information onto your page up here for you. So you can kind of see all that here. Again, if I wanted to click on something that's alerting, I can click here. We can go to this core. Again, this is going to be the power supply that's offline, and it'll take me here and it'll actually show me, hey, we have our power supply offline. And then sure enough, if I click on power, it's showing that we only have one power supply in PSU slot 1. It'll give me the serial number of that and the model number too. So this way, if I have to order an additional one, I can. Without going crazy into the switching, you're also able to drill down into switch ports if you wanted to. What I think is really cool is you're able to configure everything from just the GUI itself. You click on the port, you're able to configure it. You can see the historical traffic for up to a month, and this is going to be for all devices. If you wanted to go to tools, you can do a ping test. So you can ping from the dashboard down, you can ping from the switch out. You can do a trace route, you can blink the LEDs. Blinking the LEDs is huge, especially in consultant land, right? If we want to make a configuration change on a switch and we want to make sure we're doing the right one, and let's say you have your tech out on site and they may not know what switch is what, you can blink the LEDs and it'll actually show you which switch is what from remotely. Onto the wireless. So same thing as the switching. If you were to click on the wireless tab, this is another really advanced page that you're going to get with the Meraki dashboard, whereas before you might need a Cisco controller, or you might even need like a Cisco Prime infrastructure or a DNA appliance, right? Right off the bat, we see connection health is bad, right? And there's 20 out of 20 clients are failed. So obviously that's not good, and that's within the last 2 hours. So we want to take a look into that. We can drill down further and we can say, all right, failed clients by SSID. I can filter that out. Most most schools might have a staff, student, and a BYOD SSID, or maybe even a guest SSID. So kind of similar to here, we can filter it all out from based on SSID here. We can filter out, we can see why they're not associating. So from here, 20 out of 20 are failing on the authentication step. And we can see the total successful clients and failed clients throughout this time frame as well. So obviously not good, right? So all these devices are failing auth. If I want to click on Albert Einstein, and see why he's failing, we can then drill down, and that'll take me to that client. So obviously he's not connected, so I can't see him. But if we then go to network wide and clients, I can search for Albert, and we can see that he's hardwired. So he actually doesn't even have a wireless connection at this point. So that tells me that there might be something wrong with the authentication server or whatnot, and they might not be sending proper connections. But again, if you knew, the other really cool feature is the client tab, right? So you can search for different people. Let's say Albert Einstein is one of your students that's having an issue connecting. You can then click on them. You can see what switch they're connected to and what port. You can also look at the topology, so it'll give you a nice graphical representation of if they're connected to an access point, what access point they're connected to, what switch port they're connected to on the access layer, and then what switch port they're going through on the core switch as well. We can see what applications they were visiting. So if it was just all web traffic, if they're using like Netflix, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, things of that nature, you can then drill down into that as well too. We also get the total usage, so we can look up the usage for up to 30 days again. This is going to take a little bit to load, but you'll be able to see the usage there. We can then also run ping tests, so we can ping from the dashboard down to the client, so we can test connectivity. So if someone was saying that they cannot connect to wireless for whatever reason, we're able to do that. I also want to get into the camera. So obviously this is a big part of the whole SVPP program, right? Obviously with schools, obviously like school shootings and whatnot, unfortunately, we want to make sure that the school is safe, right? And we want to be able to see what's going on in school and outside of the building as well. Cisco offers a multitude of different cameras that we can choose from, whether they be 360 cameras, bullet cameras, or just dome outdoor rated cameras. Aspire, we actually do camera assessments, so we'll be able to actually walk the site for you. We can then determine what camera should go where and what angle it should be placed at, where it should be pointed, so that you can get the best possible field of vision. The cool thing about Meraki cameras is you don't need an on-site NVR, so you don't need to store anything locally. It's all stored in the cloud, so you can store all your data there, or you can have it stored on the camera, but the only limitation on that is once you have, it'll just keep overwriting data. So once you hit that buffer limit of however much storage it is, it'll just keep overwriting that. So here you can see a camera. This happens to be a Meraki's headquarters. You see obviously cars moving. This is real time. These down here are motion events, so we're able to actually see when an event is getting triggered. Within this view, I can also search. So let's say to make it school ready, right? If something happened by this garbage can, I can search for all the motion by this garbage can. I can pick a time, a date. I can say last week. I can say last month, and it'll bring up anything that happened during that time frame. It'll then kind of show me snippets down below, and it'll stitch together what had happened. So I see someone was walking here, and I want to then click on that, and I want it to replay me this video. So you can see as the car goes by, the motion event starts getting triggered down here, and you can eventually see the person kind of walking through into the frame. You can also tie these to door sensors. So as you see the person's coming through, we can tell like, okay, this is the incident that happened. So like, let's say a door was left open. We can see who came in that door, or how many people, or how many motion events were triggered going in and out of that door, and who was it, and we can get to the bottom of it. You can tie these into sensors. So Meraki also offers a multitude of different sensors. They're going to be door open, close, humidity detection, water leakage, air quality, ambient noise and whatnot, and temperature. So you can put these pretty much anywhere and anywhere. They can be in your data closets. They can be in basements to make sure that you have no water getting into the basement. Obviously, the big thing to me is open close, because we want to be able to tie that open and close sensor to an actual camera so that we can actually see what's going on and who opened that door, when did it open, has it stayed open, and things of that nature. So the overall security of the building is obviously key. Um, you can configure different alert profiles to alert different people. So let's say a principal or a superintendent wants to be alerted when a particular door that should be open is opened. You can do that too. Same thing. You can alert security if you wanted to as well. You can also generate reports on all this information. And then really quick, because I know we're running low on time, I did want to cover packet capturing of clients. So if we were to search for a client, right, let's go back to Albert here. We can go back to Albert. And then within here, we can then search for what's actually going on and how to troubleshoot. So we want to go to, sorry, it's not showing up, but we can click on this port or click on that event log. We can see all the instances for this client, right? And it'll then show up everything here. Obviously, I mean, within the demo, this might be a little bad here, but we don't see any events for this time frame, which is no big deal. So we see that he's working, he's online. Within the access point itself too, you can go and search for your clients, and you can grab packet captures. These packet captures will actually generate a Wireshark output that you can then take and upload to your Wireshark locally. It'll also do it in the cloud, so you don't actually need Wireshark. So you can see the packet captures and gather them through the cloud as well. That was pretty much it. That's all I have for today. I hope that we can at least schedule time later on down the road and maybe get a little bit more in depth with this. Obviously, it's a little hard for me to keep it high level. I want to drill down deeper in the weeds, but I hope that we can maybe schedule an hour session one-on-one, and I can go through with this a little bit more with you, right? So I'll pass it back over to Ryan, and we can go over any Q&A questions or whatnot.
Awesome. Thank you, Keith. That was great as always. As you guys can tell, Keith really enjoys this stuff, and he works with a lot of school districts, a lot of my customers. So happy to bring him on the line to talk further, as he mentioned. So in terms of a Q&A, we did get a couple in here, so I know we have a few minutes. First question somebody asked is if there is any type of try and buy or trial gear available. So I'll kick that one to you, Hayden.
Yes, absolutely. So yes, we do offer trial gear. Generally, it's a 2-week trial, but we can extend that for as long as it takes to properly evaluate the equipment. So we do everything MX, MV, MS, MR, the whole gamut that we can do on a trial.
Awesome. Okay, great. That sounds good. Another question we got in is, what if I don't have the staff and time to manage this? So obviously, Keith, you did a nice little demonstration for us, but there's quite a bit here. What do you think about that question?
Yeah, so I mean, that's something that the Meraki dashboard makes easy, right? So obviously, like I said, you can manage it from your phone too. So obviously, if you don't have the staff to manage the whole network, that's something that we can partner with you along with your staff to actually make sure that everything's up and running. We can give you notifications. We can do all the move ads and changes. We can kind of tailor it to whatever your requirements are. But the dashboard makes it super simple. So like once you have it set up and running, it should be pretty much good to go. One thing I didn't touch on was like firmware updates and whatnot. It really is a set it and forget it kind of thing. It'll automatically push out firmware updates for you. So that's something that you don't have to worry about. Because I know a lot of school districts might have their devices just kind of sit there and they never actually upgrade them. You don't have to worry about that with Meraki because you can schedule firmware updates or it'll push it out for you after a certain amount of time.
Great. Thank you, Keith. So that's all the questions I have, but if anybody else has any other questions, I have up on the screen our contact information. You can shoot it to our general alias info@aspiretransforms.com, and we can send out answers to everybody who's attending here today. We also did record the session, so if you'd like a copy of the recording for yourselves or any of your colleagues to review, we're happy to share that with you. You can also send that request to the alias. But hopefully today you gain some insights into the cohesive solution that Meraki provides in an affordable fashion, but also easily manageable and cloud-based. So We thank you for joining us. Again, if you have any questions or need any follow-up, you can contact us at the individual alias or contact any of your individual account executives or Cisco and Meraki account executives that were on the line here today. So with that, thanks for joining us and have a great rest of your day and rest of your week. Thanks, everybody.